And welcome to PacWest Bigfoot, guys. Real quick, we're going to have Cindi from New Hampshire. Had an experience up there in northern New Hampshire. In just a moment. First and foremost, I wanted to say real quick, thank you guys so much for just being here with PacWest Bigfoot. Don't forget, this month I've got this as a giveaway. I know it's a thin little book, but it's so packed full of like awesomeness. It's from William Jevning, Haunted Valley, and it's autographed. So I'll be sending this out to the winner this month. And any other news? No, not really. I have actually received a ton of different encounter stories from a lot of people out here. Some of them I am going to have to kind of, you guys asked me to anyways, to kind of put my own creative backstory, storytelling into it, and I'll be working on some of those. So I have some nice, fresh content and encounter stories to work on probably for the rest of this year. Some of you guys out there sent me your encounter stories, and I'm telling you, they were great and awesome enough to just, I'm just going to edit them with Grammarly, and I will publish them out to PacWestBigfoot.com. So you can read them there. That's really it for any of the updates that I have. Other than that, I do want to say one other thing. For the Sasquatch coffee lovers out here, I'm going to be on Monster X Radio this weekend. Got a little interview there with Gunner. He's actually the owner and operator of that Sasquatch coffee, so it's pretty awesome. So, all right. So with that, I want to bring on Cindi. Cindi, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So what I like to do here, Cindi, is I'm just going to let you take over the show. This is your time to give us your, your encounter story. What happened to you? What you saw? What you guys were doing up there that day? Just tell us your story.
Okay. Well, this was the end of December, and we were up in the mountains, the Presidential Range, I believe it is. We were on Cherry Mountain, and it was the last 2 hours of the day, last day of hunting season. So we decided to check out a new area for the next season. So we went up Cherry Mountain, found a spot to pull over, and found an old trail. Mm-hmm. So we just decided to start walking down the trail, and the woods felt different. They felt quiet. They felt still. There was nothing going on. The only thing I could hear was a stream in the distance, and it was just really odd. It felt really different. And I grew up in the woods, so it was really, really strange. I just wanted to leave. But we kept walking, and we came to a tree that had fallen over, and the roots were exposed, so we went to pull our way around it, and when we did that, we were growled at, which we originally thought it was a bear. The growl had to have been extremely close because it was extremely deep and powerful, I guess. Mm-hmm. So the first thing I think of is an old bear, really old, big, huge bear, but they don't really get that big up here. So, but I kept
what kind of bears do you guys have up there anyways?
Black bear.
Just black bear? Yeah, we used to have once in a while you might run into a grizzly, but it's very rare. Here in the Pacific, in Oregon areas.
Here.
Yeah, no, not really here anymore. Not too often. So.
No, but the biggest thing out there is a moose, and moose don't growl. So,
for all you non-believers in Bigfoot, moose don't growl.
No, they don't. They will charge you, though. And I actually, in that mud pile that was under the tree, I did see a very large bull moose print. And so I thought, there'd be something to follow. There might be deer around. But my fiance kept going ahead of me, and he had rounded a bend, and I heard another growl. And I stopped and let him continue forward. He was walking pretty slow, but as soon as he rounded the bend, I turned and looked at a group of pine trees, a very dark pine because it was wet. Mm-hmm. We had just had a snowfall, and things started to melt a little before they refroze. And in the pines, there was movement. There was no wind up there whatsoever. Mm-hmm. So it looked like a big tree was moving. And I had looked a little closer, and it looked like I thought of it as a front paw had mm-hmm. reached further up the tree. So I thought, oh, this is a bear, but that's a big bear. And but that's when I noticed that it had swayed a little bit to my right side, and I could see eyes and a face. And this was not a bear. I know bear very well. This was not a bear.
So it's just kind of,
I mean,
it's swaying from behind the tree and back and from the tree, or is it just next to the tree swaying?
It did a couple of times as it also moved its arm, like it was hugging the side of the tree. But it was black. It was solid black, so I thought it was a tree trunk at first because it was perfectly still, and then it started to sway.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I noticed the movement of the paw and then the eyes. These were huge, huge eyes, and the face did not have a snout nor ears. It was solid black hair. The face was clear, but it was black. There was no hair on the face whatsoever, and the eyes were a gold. It scared me at first. I mean, I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess I just wasn't thinking too straight because your mind kind of wraps things around. What is this? This is not a man. It's not a bear. It's definitely not a moose.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had heard my fiance, I don't know if he stepped on a stick, but he made some type of noise. I couldn't see him because he was around the bend. But as soon as he did that, the eyes that were looking at me squinted a little bit and then looked towards his direction. And that's when I got a feeling of fear. That's when a deep fear came over me. So I took off towards him, and we had gone up the trail a little further. I tried to tell him that I saw something, but it didn't really come out. I was just kind of in shock, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But he had me sit up on this ridge that was, I don't know, maybe 100 yards past that point, and while he scouted across the area, and I was sitting there by myself, and I could feel like I was being watched, and it didn't really make me uncomfortable until he came back. It's like only when he was in my presence did I feel fear, and I'm beginning to associate that with the gun, but I'm still not sure whether or not I want to tell him, but he said it was time to go, so we went to leave. We went back past that same tree that had fallen over, and I was stepping in my own steps so that I wouldn't go down in the mud even further.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the moose track that was still there. It was pretty deep. And then I noticed right above my footprint was another footprint, but it was big. And my first thought was, what is a man doing out here with no shoes on? Because it's pretty far up the mountain. It's freezing
So you could see toes in.
Oh yeah,
impressions.
It was fresh.
Okay.
It was put there after I had walked through the first time. And it's just like, it was like one step. It's like something hopped over and smashed right there next to my footprint. And we left. I did go back later, a couple of years after that, with my son and two of my daughters, and the feeling wasn't there that I'd had before. It actually felt comfortable, and we went to the area, and I had told them a little bit about it. I wanted to see how far away the tree was, or the trees that were right there, and the size of the creature that I had seen. And I sent my son out, who's only 5.5 foot. I sent him over this little embankment, and he went out there by the tree, and he looked extremely tiny. This creature had to have been, I'm going to say, between 8 and 9 feet tall. And judging by the footprint that I saw and the depth of it, next to the moose print and my own print, I'm only 5 foot. So I'm pretty tiny, but my footprint only went in so far. But the depth of the footprint that I thought was human at first was about the same as a full-grown moose, a bull moose. So I'm going to say between 8 and 1,200 pounds to make something that deep. And up here in New Hampshire, we don't have anything like that. Yeah. Absolutely nothing. There's not even our bears get to that size. Well, yeah. I mean, but your mind logically doesn't want to think that route, and even after that, I questioned myself. I didn't tell anybody. I was even on an episode of Finding Bigfoot, and I didn't tell them. And my fiance got on to me about that. He's like, "Why didn't you?"
Could you tell us what episode that was? Was that the
one in New Hampshire? The only one that they did in New Hampshire.
Okay. So, all right, I'll have to go back and check that out. And you guys out here, you guys can go check that out. And so you were on there and gave them one of your accounts, or did they follow up with you? Or were we in the meetings?
Yeah, they followed up with me. But what I told, I didn't realize that was a TV show at first. I thought it was just some researchers. Honestly, I did. I thought it was just researchers, and I thought, well, maybe someone needs to come up here and check this area out, because that this is something that I didn't think should be here. I thought I knew all the animals, and if you're thinking, what's that size that could possibly hurt you, but I didn't feel like it was ever going to hurt me, not until I really don't think it was going to hurt me. Just thinking back on the feelings that I got, I was afraid, but part of you wants to go out there and just join it, I guess. It's hard to explain the feeling that I'm thinking of, but part of you wants to run and part of you wants to stay. I didn't feel
I
threatened
get
personally.
what you're saying. I didn't have a sighting like you did, but I question things all the time. But what I experienced, what I heard that evening was it was not bear like you were saying. I mean, we got a lot of black bear here, and I know bear, I know cougar, I know elk from around here. We don't really have moose here, really, I don't think, but we got a lot of elk here. And I just knew that it was bipedal. It was really heavy on that river rock, and a part of you sits there and you're just freaked out and you're fearful and you're scared, and then the other part of you is like, I want to find this thing, grab it, cage it, take a picture of it, whatever I can do to prove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know there are people out there that are up for kill, no kill, stuff like that. I'm not really up for killing this kind of thing. I'm just not,
No.
unless it's an endangerment to like anything else. If it endangers your life, shoot it.
Yeah.
You have every right to shoot. But other than that, taking pictures and things like that is just fine. I'm good with that. Grabbing footprints and whatnot. So what's your husband? How's he feel? How do you feel about that?
Well, when we saw the footprint coming back, he knew something was out there, and he's been a hunter all of his life.
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing he said to me is, we need to leave. And he's a believer to a point, but he needs something concrete in front of his face.
Yeah.
But he felt the growl. He knew that what else could it be? There's nothing else up here that is that size.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So he just wants to go back out to the same area. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, I feel like the encounter could be different if he wasn't carrying his rifle. But I even had a sidearm. I had a 9mm on my side, and I never once thought for a second to pull it.
Yeah.
It wasn't that kind of a fear. It was more of a curiosity.
Yeah. Well, I would worry for you guys a little bit if you weren't armed. I mean, even like a concealed gun would be fine. For me, I'm still kind of the believer that it's a wild animal, and you never know what can happen. It's always to be safe than sorry, of course. We hear that all the time, and I think that's actually a good thing. I don't care if you're encountering new peoples or new animals. It doesn't matter. You should always be armed and be at least somewhat cautious, I think.
Yes. Well, anytime I go out, I carry. Mm-hmm. So but I'm more fearful of other hikers than I am of any animals out there.
No, same here. We got like woods people up here that are just kind of crazy, weird people. And yeah.
We have tourists.
You have what?
Tourists.
Oh, tourists. We get tourists too, yeah. So
you just never know.
Yeah, you never know. Well,
it's a big recreational area. There's a lot of skiing. There's a lot of hiking. I mean, it's year round. There's stuff going on. It's just in this one area, it was blocked off because the snowplows don't get up there.
Yeah.
But
and so how tall did you say this thing was approximately, you think?
It had to have been between 8 and 9 feet. I mean, I was at a distance of probably 20, 25 feet away from where this tree group was. Mm-hmm. And when I sent my son back out, I looked. It had to have been about 20 feet. It wasn't really that far.
Wow,
and for the
close.
size, it was humongous.
That's 20 feet. That's not far at all. That's
extremely close.
That's like dangerous close. That's danger close is what they call it.
In military I called terms. It reaching distance at that point.
Reaching distance. Nice.
Yeah.
And so the face, you could make out some of it?
Oh yeah, I could make out the face very well, and the hair. It's just at first it's like it blended in because the trees were black and they were thick, and there was no movement. It was like a camouflage, I guess, until I saw the what I'm going to say was an arm, would have been the right arm, reach up a little bit higher, like it was grasping the tree. That's why at first I thought it was a bear, but that was way too big to be a bear.
Mm.
And they're supposed to be hibernating anyway. I mean, I realize some don't, but that was just way too large. It just caught. I mean, you just kind of freeze in position and you don't move, and you're just watching. And I could see the face and the eyes. The eyes is what really got me because they were such a solid gold, and they were huge. The face was human. It was.
About how big would you say the eyes were, if you could guess?
Oh gosh, probably as big as my hand. They were big.
Like bigger than a golf ball?
I wasn't going to go up to
like a baseball?
Not quite that big. Probably somewhere between a golf ball and a baseball, but they were huge. Much bigger than you would see on a bear, and they were more human-shaped with the heavy brow that was coming down. It kind of reminded me of my brother with the unibrow. I hope he doesn't hear that. But yeah, it sloped down, but it almost felt like it was young, like not like an old man, but a lot younger, like more of a, I'm gonna say a 20-ish person, I guess.
Okay.
I just felt a youngness about it, and
like
a
young man and not a juvenile.
Right. Yeah, not a child, nothing like that, but older than that. But there was like a curiosity in the eyes. I never felt anything threatening in the eyes. But the face was, like I said, hair free. The hair did continue all the way around, like a mane, I'm gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no movement to the hair, just like with a breeze or something. It just moved when the creature had moved out a little bit, like it was watching me, almost like it waited for my fiance to go up around the curve, and then I just stood there frozen.
Interesting. And how about the mouth, the nose? Are they?
The nose, I'm gonna say, was wider, like lowered on the face, I guess, to the human, almost like squished, flat and wide. Yeah. The mouth was thin, like a thin lipped. But it went like jaw to jaw. I mean, it was large, but I never saw any teeth or nothing. Never did anything like that.
So never grimaced or flashed teeth or bared teeth?
No, the only thing of danger that I felt is when its eyes turned, and that's the only thing that moved on its face. It did move its head. The eyes just kind of glanced quickly towards the noise that my fiance had made, and then it glanced back at me, and the eyes kind of narrowed a little bit when it looked towards him, and then it looked back towards me, and the eyes opened back up, and you could feel the curiosity again, but that one split second scared me.
Okay.
And I felt like it had to do with him and his rifle, more so than anything.
It could be. It could be. Are some wild animals a little more docile than others? Possibly. Kind of all depends, I think. But it really depends on what these things are. So I guess that's my wife back there, guys. So,
well, there was something that my family reminded me of too of when I was 7 that I didn't even think about till later. But I was at a scout camp, not scouts, but I was like a church camp in the Ocala National Forest. We lived in Florida, and we were at this one building that was deep in the Ocala National Forest, and our campsite was pretty far away through the woods. And we were watching a magic show, and I got a phone call from my mother. So they told me I had to run back, and I wanted to do it quickly because, it was a magic show. I'm a kid. It was dark. It was raining. I ran quickly, took my phone call, and thought I would cut through the woods going back. Well, I got down a little ditch, and in Florida we wear flip-flops, so my flip-flop had pulled off in the ditch because there was water, and I had stepped on something that had cut my foot wide open. I mean, just all the way down, and I had fallen to the ground, and I couldn't walk, and there was nobody out there, and I just have a lapse of memory, but the next thing I know, I'm sitting on the step right in front of where the magic show was going on. It was our mess hall. And I've got counselors around me, and I'm just bleeding all over the place. Felt like I was going to pass out. They actually had to call a flight to come out and get me because of where I was. I needed to go into surgery, but I have no memory of getting to there. And my mother told me later on that I told her that an orangutan carried me. That's the only thing that I
Oh,
said to
wow.
her. Was I have no memory, none. The complete
Well,
blank.
it wasn't me and my
But
orange red hair, so.
but she told her I said it was an orangutan or a monkey or something along that lines.
Oh, wow.
So the first thing I think of is all the circuses that go on, and sometimes people release, animals and stuff,
Yeah.
or they get free. And
Yeah, I could have dragged
but
you
it was just
over.
weird but that was reminded me of after I told my mother about what had happened, several years
Interesting.
ago.
So you guys,
And
you guys go out and do a little research from time to time up in that area or anywhere out and about there?
yes,
Okay.
yes, actually,
Anything recently over like the last year? Like wood knocks, screams, hollers, grunts,
well, yeah, we
footprints?
were up in the same area, and it was my fiance and my son-in-law, and they were fishing around this little pond, just a little bit further up from where we were before to the
Hmm.
turnoff access road. And I decided to go around and start doing some wood knocks.
Hmm.
And they're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm knocking. I want to see if Bigfoot will answer." And they thought I was crazy, so they're just, continuing to fish. I went back to the car and sat down, started doing some schoolwork on my laptop, and um, they heard something moving behind them, and they freaked out. I saw them gathering up everything, and I'm like, "What are you guys doing?" They said, "There's something moving out there." I said, "It's probably a deer." And then we heard it again, and it wasn't on four legs. It was something on two legs, but it was so thick because this was during the middle part of the summer,
Hmm.
and it was just so thick you couldn't see nothing out in there, even if you tried.
Hmm.
Um, but they gathered up everything. They left part of their equipment, pulled up to it, and threw it in the car really quick and took off. And I'm like, "Are you guys crazy? I want to know what it is." I wanted to go back,
No
but they
doubt.
got scared. And
Well,
these are big guys. They don't they don't get scared at much, but something spooked them, and they just wanted to take off. And
for some of the people out here that think there might be some sort of curiosity, what you do, there might be some sort of possibility of some sort of communication or whatever. I mean, I get that, I understand that, but like I always tell people, safety first. I can get why. I mean, these things are huge. That's pretty scary out in the woods. My mom's heard screams in the middle of the night up near Hyatt Lake here in Southern Oregon, and I don't know if I'd want to hear that. Just not in the middle of the night. No way.
yeah, the growls were pretty. It's almost like something was telling you to leave.
Hmm.
It was just really deep. I've never, like I said, I've been growled at by a bear before. I've had a bear rush me before.
Oh,
I stood
wow.
up. I didn't know what else to do, but I stood up, tried to make myself seem larger, all of my 5 feet. But um, my fiance
Nice.
ended up firing a shot over the bear. He didn't have time to aim it at the bear. He just, you know, aimed it above the bear, and the bear immediately turned around and ran back. But
Yeah.
I've been rushed. I've been growled at. This was different. It put a fear in me that, and honestly, I haven't been able to really enter the woods again. I'll go with him, but I didn't tell him about what I saw until probably a few months ago. And this was several years ago that this happened. I've made up
Wow.
excuses. We'll get to where we're going to start tracking out in the woods, and I'll tell him that I have a headache, or I'm feeling nauseous, or something.
Hmm.
And he's always wondered why I haven't gone out, but I stay in the car and I keep the doors locked, and I'm always watching.
Yeah. Yeah, because even if there is some sort of like interesting connection there, like I said, it's staying safe. There's something. Stay safe. You know, just a good thing.
Yep.
But thank you so very much for sharing that. That was awesome. That is
Oh, you're welcome.
that is pretty
I do
pretty
plan out
interesting.
getting out this summer.
And I swear I've seen every Bigfoot episode, so I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch that one, the one from New Hampshire, and check out, see what they
Yep.
were doing there, and that'd be awesome. I'll go
Well,
check that out.
what I was surprised about was I thought I was the only one. You kind of feel like you're crazy. Um, but then all these
Yeah.
people started coming forward, and I found out they were in the same area I was. Some people have had stuff thrown at them, big, huge logs, rocks, and some people actually came with the castings of the footprints, and
Yeah.
I found out it was all on Cherry Mountain.
Wow.
all of it, every single one that I heard. Outside of some that were at people's homes or going across the highway or something, but there was so many that I was actually shocked. But it was nice to know that I wasn't the only one. So other people have seen this, and I'm not crazy.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. One of the recent encounters I had was actually from an official here in Southern Oregon, and his happened. It was about 40 miles away, 50 miles, 40 something miles away from where mine happened, of course. But at least, knowing that, it wasn't just me and my mom that have, noticed anything down there. And then I've talked to other people who recently here in Southern Oregon, which sent me in some of their interesting reports. So I've got a lot of Southern Oregon stuff coming out here pretty soon. But it is nice to know that you're not alone in it.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's weird for me. I mean, I'm, like I tell everybody here, I'm a Christian guy. I'm totally into creation and all that stuff. But, and there's some of my fellow believers who are just like, I'm not really sure about that whole Bigfoot thing. I think it's kind of weird, maybe a little off. And it's like, I'm telling you, I heard what I heard, and we found the footprints that we found. And my mother has heard this crazy screaming in the middle of the night in the woods. And it's I'll at least say it's almost all but undeniable.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'd have to say on that. And hearing what you have to say, I mean, that's awesome. That is, I'm scary, but awesome. Awesome. So,
Yeah, you want to think with your logical mind. So.
Yeah, you really, I think that's one of the best things that we can do and we can take away from this is that, stay in your right mind, always, um, you know, be on guard, be cautious, stay in your right mind, try not to, get lost in the moments and paralyzed. You know what I mean? Try to,
I think that's what scared me the most was that moment, like you feel paralyzed
yeah,
and you don't know what could happen, and all these
yeah.
things run through your head very quickly. And I took off.
Hmm.
It took a eye movement for me to wake up, I guess.
Hmm.
It's a good way to put it,
Yeah.
and leave.
Interesting. Huh. All right. Well, thank you so very much for being on here, Cindi. And hold on one second as I close this off. I'll talk to you for another minute here afterwards. But want to say thank you guys so very much for listening in to Cindi's encounter story from up in northern New Hampshire. And if you guys want to, you guys can go back and look at the Finding Bigfoot episode that she was on for the New Hampshire episode. That's awesome. I'm going to go check that out. Probably watch that today myself. I didn't realize that. So awesome. With that, if you guys want to, you guys want to subscribe and get get on the list for the free giveaway, it is at PacWestBigfoot.com. You can just join the clan there and follow along on YouTube. Follow along on YouTube. And don't forget that all the content that I create is absolutely free for you guys. So if you want to, I'll have a donate tab on the website here pretty soon that you can go directly to and donate, or sit through the commercials for me here on YouTube. That's the only way that I monetize these things, to pay for hosting and the domain name and all the little costs that I incur here. So with that, thank you, Cindi. Thank you guys very much for being here, and I'll get with you in 1 second here, Cindi.